Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Happy New Year. I hope that all of you had fabulous Christmas and New Year's seasons and that you are ready to be back to work like I am. Your boy always working here. I had Clay and Buck just now for 3 hours. I'll have it tomorrow. And I will be live with a gambling special with Kelly Stewart that will be up shortly. I know the Sugar Bowl starts in an hour between Georgia and Notre Dame. We're going to get to that, and I'm going to discuss all the college football playoff games that we watched yesterday. And I had hoped that we would be able to start 2025 with just, hey, it's awesome, new year, everything else. But unfortunately, we have to start with the awful terror attack that happened about 3:15 a.m. Central on New Year's Day. A Muslim terrorist who was intent on destroying and killing as many people as he possibly could tried to rain down complete and total terror on Bourbon Street, and he killed 15 innocent people. And I'm not going to apologize for this, but if you are one of those people that is out there, my resolution in 2025 is, at times, I'm going to be completely unfiltered. That means I'm going to curse if I feel like I need to curse. If you have young kids, then sometimes this may not be the perfect show for them. And this is one of those. So I want all of you to listen to me very carefully. Every one of you ignorant twats on a college campus who protested in favor of Palestine and Hamas and Hezbollah and argued that you wanted to globalize the Intifada and you wanted Palestine to be free from the river to the sea, this is what you ignorant cunts are in favor of. All right? Listen to me clearly. This is what they want to do. Globalize the Intifada means that when you and your friends go out drinking on Bourbon Street, there might be a crazy murderous terrorist who decides that he's going to drive his car over you while you're standing there with a hurricane getting plastered and celebrating with your friends. 15 innocent, almost entirely young people around your age, college kids, dead now because we decided, let's focus on DEI. And let's focus on white supremacy as the real number one terror threat in America. It was all bullshit. The number one terror threat in the world, America included, is Muslim terrorists. They want to kill you, millions of them. Probably thousands, maybe tens of thousands in our country, because while Joe Biden and Merrick Garland have been focused on school board parents who talk too loud and abortion protesters, and while they've been using the FBI to go through Melania Trump's underwear, this guy was pledging loyalty to ISIS and willing to die to kill as many people as possible who he considers to be infidels because they hate the freedoms that we have in America. And all you ignorant cunts out there, from Columbia University to my alma mater, George Washington University, all the way out to UCLA, that got in your tents and they walked around, you walked around in your keffiyehs and you said, "Death to infidels," and you praised the Intifada. This is what you created. This is what you want more of. You don't even understand the difference between good and evil because you're too goddamn ignorant. This is what you supported. Kids, by and large, young people, standing on the street, celebrating the new year, when suddenly a truck comes running through with an ISIS flag and murders 15 people because that Muslim terrorist decided that he wanted to kill as many people as possible. And I'm not even going to name the dude. I never do it unless there's a search for a terrorist and we need to actually go out there and try to find this person. But the names of these 15 are being shared as they are going public. And I want to just share with some of you the innocent people that are dead because of this incident, okay? And sadly, there are far too many of them, but I want to share some of the details. I believe 8 of the names are out there so far. Nakaira Dado, 18-year-old nursing student from Gulfport, Mississippi, dead, murdered by this terrorist. Reggie Hunter, 37-year-old warehouse manager, father of 2 from Baton Rouge, killed. 27-year-old Tiger Beck was home for the holidays, played football at Princeton, murdered on Bourbon Street. 28-year-old Nicole Perez just moved into a brand new apartment, was so proud that she and her 4-year-old son were going to be able to live there. His mom is dead. She was murdered. Hubert Gautreaux, 21-year-old Archbishop Shaw High School, Louisiana grad. Matthew Tenedorio, 25-year-old audio-visual tech at the Superdome, killed. Alabama freshman Kareem Badawi, 18-year-old, murdered. 1 semester at the University of Alabama. And Drew Dauphin, 2023 Auburn grad, recently graduated, engineer for Honda. Those are the names that we are aware of so far, all murdered in cold blood on Bourbon Street. If you are anything like me, and I bet a lot of you are, you have been out on Bourbon Street. Some of you, like me, may have been even out on Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve. This could have been any of us. Now, I'm older. I went to bed at 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. I'm not necessarily the guy who's going to be out at 3:15 in the morning anymore. Some nights maybe, usually not. But a lot of you college-age kids that were on campuses where people were protesting, you protested in favor of this. You lack the ability to distinguish between good and evil. These are the consequences of your acts. They are real. Stare at them, recognize them, reconsider the decisions that you are making because you are morons. Now, I just got back from Israel. I was in Israel last month. I saw what happened on October 7th. This is not going to be the end. There are more terrorists in America that have entered. We have no idea what they're planning. We have no idea what they are because your FBI has been told white supremacy is the #1 threat to America. It ain't. I'm here to tell you. It's Muslim terrorists. It's the #1 threat to truth, decency, and goodness all over the world, not just in America. And suddenly, you're not able to say it. People are afraid, oh, you're going to profile. Well, guess who's killing people all over the world in the name of their religion? It ain't Christians. It ain't Hindus. It ain't Buddhists. By and large, it's Muslim terrorists. On the same day that 15 people were murdered in New Orleans, on 6th Avenue in New York City, people marched screaming, globalize the Intifada, celebrating what had just happened in New Orleans and encouraging it to happen elsewhere. This is what they want. They want October 7th in America. We know because we lived through 9/11, but I get it. A lot of you are young and you're morons, and you aren't even realizing how stupid you are because you weren't even born on 9/11. You have no experience with it. You like to think that you're on the side of good. You're actually celebrating the side of evil. Look at what happened on New Year's Day in New Orleans. That is what globalize the Intifada represents. Reconsider your decisions. Recalibrate your life. Maybe begin 2025 by recognizing that you want to stand on the side of good. And if you're curious out there, and you want to know what the side of good is, it's the side that isn't trying to kill innocent people. in the name of a religion. That's the side that's good. So frustrating to me for years. I heard as a Trump supporter, you're going to be on the side of evil. What do you want your historical legacy to be? You know who's never on the side of evil? People who support basic human rights. I got a crazy idea. Women should be able to wear bikinis in Iran. I know. Women should be able to go to sporting events all over the Middle East. I know, I'm crazy. I even think women should be able to drive cars. It's bonkers. Are you aware of what exists in the countries that you are supporting? If every country in the Middle East had the same freedoms as every Muslim in Israel does, the entire Middle East would be a fount of basic human rights. Instead, most of the governments in the Middle East hate basic human rights and do not allow their citizens to have them. Open up a book for once, you ignorant cunts. Actually use your brains for once and recognize what you should be doing on a college campus. Do you know how incredibly fortunate you are to live in America? To be able to spend 4 years on a college campus when all you have to do is learn, and yet you have managed to allow your brains to be bastardized and despoiled to such an extent that you no longer have the ability to distinguish between basic good and evil. Figure it out. Watch those videos. I shared some of them. Look at that madman in that truck driving full speed, trying to knock out as many people's lives as he could. That is what you protested in favor of. Stand up for truth and justice. Stand up for basic human rights around the world and reject Islamic fundamentalism and Muslim hate. Just do it. What do we got here? Much less seriousness. Oh, injured among them. Jeremy Sinsky, 10-hour surgery, 2 broken legs, thankfully taken off a ventilator Thursday. Georgia student also injured. Alabama and Auburn students murdered. 2 Israeli citizens per the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ole Miss student. This doesn't surprise me because so many people, particularly from all over the South, go to spend New Year's in New Orleans. I have been there. I've been out on Bourbon Street for New Year's many times. Sugar Bowl has always been a big game. I've had amazing times there. I love the people of New Orleans. I've been to Mardi Gras several times. I'll be down there again for the Super Bowl. I love the people of New Orleans and Louisiana. They love to have a good time. They throw an amazing party. Stand on the side of good and stand against evil. If you have been someone who has been co-opted and maybe was just not that well educated on the issues, if you are in any way supporting people who say globalize the Intifada or death to the martyrs or walk around in a cafe telling you that Jews are the problem, you are an ignorant moron and you need to recalibrate your life decisions. Educate yourself, you illiterate son of a bitch. All right, much less serious, but I feel compelled as we had the conflict going on there. Let me just also say this. Can we stop blaming fucking trucks when people drive through a crowd and murder people in cold blood? Hey, ESPN, maybe stop blaming the truck. I know it's a crazy idea. It was a terrorist driving the truck. All day long on ESPN.com, they said that a truck killed a lot of people. No, it didn't. A terrorist did. I give credit for Joe Tessitore during the broadcast of the Texas-Arizona State game, which I'm going to get to in a minute. They finally broke in, and Joe Tessitore clearly said it was a terror attack. Most people at ESPN couldn't. This morning, the Washington Post headline on the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, what are you doing? You're worth $200 billion. Why did you buy the Washington Post? Truck rams New Orleans crowd. That's the headline on the Washington Post. Truck rams New Orleans crowd. ESPN breaking news, Sugar Bowl postponed. Sugar Bowl postponed after deadly truck attack. You can't say deadly terror attack? What are we doing here when so few people are willing to be basically honest? Just tell us the truth. I get so fired up about this. I feel fortunate to have founded a media company, OutKick, which is having a substantial impact. But how are so many people out there not willing to speak the basic truth here? We're in danger from terrorists who want to kill us. There are thousands, potentially tens of thousands of them in the country. And meanwhile, your government, my government, our government is telling us, hey, the real threat here is a bunch of poor white dudes who believe in white supremacy. Let me be clear here. If you believe you are better than someone else because of your race, you are an idiot, okay? If you believe in white supremacy, black supremacy, Asian supremacy, Hispanic supremacy, any kind of supremacy based on the color of your skin, you are a racist moron. The vast, vast majority of people in America do not subscribe to that. We believe in a meritocracy. The best man or woman, not the best man pretending to be a woman, should win in all facets of American life. That's basic capitalism. That's why this country has excelled for 250 years nearly. But don't tell me something that's not true. Don't tell me that the biggest terror threat in America is white supremacy when it's clearly fucking Muslim terrorist. I mean, come on. We know this. It's always been the case. It is the case. I'm sorry if it's in some way uncomfortable for the delicate sensibilities of some of these people's ears, but, I don't tiptoe up to the truth. Okay, much less serious. Let's talk about the games. Adam tells me, Adam, where is the source here that Jalen Milroe has officially declared for the NFL draft? Please don't draft him, Tennessee Titans. I told you not to take Will Levis. Do not take Jalen Milroe. I don't know who's going to take this guy. He hasn't proven that he can throw the ball downfield. He's a great, elite athlete. He's not a good quarterback so far. We'll get to that in a sec as it pertains to Kalen DeBoer, but that is evidently breaking news. Games. Biggest story coming out of the actual games, it's targeting. It was targeting. Arizona State, Cam Scatterbo had one of the greatest games in the history of college football. 130 roughly yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 99 yards receiving, 45-yard touchdown pass. Scatterbo put Arizona State on his shoulders when it appeared Texas had the game firmly in control. Game goes to overtime. Missed kick by a couple of missed kicks by Texas allows it to go to overtime. But it was targeting, all right? When we clip this and we share it, you guys know this. In the entire targeting era, I have watched every major college football game that has mattered. I also have watched a ton of college football games that don't matter at all. If that's not targeting, I don't know what is. Every official out there has said it is. And some people say, well, like I saw Doug Gottlieb, who's a friend of mine, well, it's targeting, but you can't call it there. If you can't call blatant targeting late in the game because of the impact it might have, then you cannot have the rule in place at all. You cannot just swallow your whistle. Now, if it's borderline, I would prefer that the error be such that the players themselves make the decision, not the officials. That wasn't borderline. That was clearly leading with the helmet on a defenseless receiver. It was targeting. And by the way, Texas fans, I don't understand what you get by claiming that it wasn't. There's a few Texas fans in my mentions like, it wasn't targeting, or this is the other thing. They don't even defend that call. They're like, well, how about 8 plays ago when this happened? Hey, you know what? There was another penalty that should have been called. Overtime touchdown. The lineman, my understanding is, cannot drag the player forward in that manner to have the touchdown happen. Now, I don't blame a lineman for trying to do it for Arizona State. You can't do it. The scrum is allowed, like the rugby scrum, and I understand there's a subtle difference between the two, but an individual player cannot grab someone and just throw them forward like 20 yards or put them on the back and start running with them. That isn't allowed. So that should have been called too. There are missed calls. But one missed call doesn't justify another missed call. And that was clearly targeting, and it may well have changed the overall outcome of the game. Now, Texas should have never allowed that game to be close. Steve Sarkisian's team almost gave it away. Congratulations, Quinn Ewers, 4th and 13. I don't know how you let the guy behind you. You did. Big time touchdown pass, second overtime. Big time two-point conversion throw. Credit to Quinn Ewers. Texas made a lot of plays, and the reality is, now that we're in an expanded college football playoff, all that matters is whether you win. It's like the NCAA tournament. You might not play well, but survive and advance is the name of the game. Texas survived, and they advanced. That was targeting, though. Arizona State should have had a first down on the other side of the field. And if we're not sure whether or not that is targeting, then we can't have the rule. You reviewed it. You went and watched it on tape, and you said that's not targeting, and no one has been able, so far as I have seen, to explain why that is not targeting. Trust me, this matters in a big way. Got to get that fixed. Texas wins. Ohio State is the best team in college football. They have 3 NFL receivers. Jeremiah Smith is worth $5 million or more each of the next 2 years because he isn't able to go pro. Oregon had no answer for him. Tennessee had no answer for him. I want all of you that were in my mentions ripping Tennessee to acknowledge that maybe Tennessee actually did okay. They certainly played a better game than Oregon did, and they did it on the road. It was 21-10 at the half, as opposed to, 34-8 at the half, if I remember correctly, something like that, and only because Oregon scored on the final play of the half. Absolute beatdown from Ohio State, who I think is the best team in college football. But how did they lose to Michigan? How in the world did Ohio State, with that talent, lose at home to Michigan? Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, that's the worst game plan maybe of the year that they were capable of losing to Michigan, and that they didn't somehow involve their wide receiver core, which has 3 NFL players on it. Just FYI. Indefensible that was allowed to occur. I think Ohio State's going to win the championship. And if that happens, Ohio State will be an unbelievable beneficiary of the 12-team playoff because, but for the 12-team playoff, I think your Final Four, if we hadn't had the playoff, might be a little bit controversial. I think your Final Four would have ended up being, correct me if I'm wrong here, if you guys disagree, you can hop in the comments. I think it would have been, certainly Oregon would have been in as the 1. Georgia would have been in as the 2. I think probably that Notre Dame would have been in as the 3, and I think Texas would have gotten the 4. You could argue that Penn State deserves the 4 over Texas. You could argue that Notre Dame doesn't deserve in, but I think that Penn State would have been the odd team out. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, there would not have been Ohio State in the playoff, and I think Ohio State is actually right now the best team in college football, and I think they are going to go on and win the playoff. Now, we'll see. They're a 4.5 or 5-point favorite. Cotton Bowl is a very favorable location for Texas. That game's going to be played, I think, in Jerry World, right, in the Dallas area, the Cowboys Stadium. I would imagine that'll be a 75% pro-Texas crowd, given that it's taking place in Texas. So Texas will have a home field advantage in that game. But I think Ohio State's going to win the national championship. They smoked Oregon. Georgia, Notre Dame. I would have been totally right if Texas had just closed out the final few minutes. Went 4-2 on the picks yesterday. I am on Georgia and the under in the game that's going to kick in a little bit over 30 minutes from now. I will, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and dive out now. Well, let me tell you, I'll tell you my top 4 NFL quarterbacks. I'll break all that down for you tomorrow. But I'm on Georgia and the under right now. I want to get Kelly Stewart in. We're going to tape the fade right before this game kicks off because I want to be able to talk with her about everything in the college football landscape and more. I will be back with all of you tomorrow. This is what Globalize the Intifada looks like. I didn't want to have a serious conversation today. I just wanted to talk about the college football games, but this matters. Call out terror where it exists. Evil is real, and they are evil, the terrorists trying to kill us with a perverted vision of their religion. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I'm Clay Travis. This has been OutKick, the show.